Some important things to know before we get started. My personal ratings don't hold as much value in this list. You'll see a lot of albums ranked higher than each other that have a lower rating. Albums rated 99 are in consideration for being a 10. It is higher than a 98, but it's kind of its own unique rating. My favorite song will be Starred with a yellow star, and the current song or songs playing will be noted with the purple music notes. At number 50, we have Collapse EP by Aphex Twin. This is totally genius, super complex, and it bends what the definition of music is. It lacks any straightforward rhythms or melodies. The glitchy, clicky percussion will scratch that itch in your brain you never knew you had. It's an acquired taste, but it's definitely worth a shot. Next, at number 49, we have Daria Core 2, Enter Here, Held to the Left by Leroy, also known as Jane Remover. This is chaotic, it's funny, it's super crazy, it's super fun, it's innovative, an irreplicable one-of-a-kind sound that only Jane Remover could make. This album is some of the most ridiculous headbanging drops I've ever heard. Check out Snare of a Lifetime and Video Game Lover vs. Hydraulic Press for that just sweet, sweet craziness. At number 48, we have Sunbather by Deafheaven. This is beautiful, bright, euphoric, melancholic, which are not common attributes given to metal music, yet Deafheaven managed to achieve just that with Sunbather's banging drums, soaring guitars, and aching vocals that are treated more like a backing instrument than a front lead. This album is full of catharsis, from its riffs to its screams to its melodies, and a super memorable and perfectly fitting album cover to top it all off. The following lyric on the pecan tree, "I am my father's son, I am no one, I cannot love, it is in my blood," always really struck with me and remains just as heartbreaking as when I first heard it, or read it for that matter. It's kind of hard to hear the lyrics. This is the kind of music that makes you just close your eyes and drift away in its sonic ocean. For 47, I put Two Airships, Exploder Falls by Candy Claus. This EP sounds like a vacation on a fuzzy, distorted island as you drink your Mai Tai made of cubed, bit-crushed liquid and feel the digital bits melt in your mouth. You see people surfing on digital waves and flocks of 2D seagulls in the distance. A beautiful, glitchy paradise of noise and texture. At 46, we have To Be Kind by Swans. If I had to listen to an album while being sacrificed in a pagan ritual, this is the one. Super mean riffs on Screenshot, Oxygen, and She Loves Us, incredible drum performances, especially on Natalie Neal. Great vocals, super cryptic lyrics. It's a little pretentious, but it deserves the love it gets. From what I've heard from them, this is Swans at their best. At 45, we have Untrue by Burial. Picture this, it's 1 a.m., you're on a walk home, and snow covers the streets and is falling from the sky. You feel like you are in a bubble, safe from harm from the city around you, yet as lonesome as the last person on Earth. Pure immersion in shelter, a one-of-a-kind soundscape. Number 44, I have After the Night by Paranol. This is a live album that sounds really nostalgic. The live elements really help elevate the sound. This album sounds like a childhood you would conjure up in a dream, full of magic and wonder. Very pretty. At 43, we have Cross by Justice. This album is the party to end all parties. It sounds like what a limousine looks like. Spiffy, classy, but not afraid to let loose and go hard, with songs like Stress and Waters of Nazareth. I like Valentine for invoking that feeling of nostalgia without me having any actual memories attached, and shout out to The Party for being a huge grower on me. It's such a fun track. For I too am a narcissistic white girl. This is an absolute must hear for any electronic fan out there. 42, I have You Won't Go Before You're Supposed To by Knocked Loose, the other album on this list with a cross on the album cover. This album is only 27 minutes long and it induces genuine adrenaline in me. It gets physically tiring to finish it because of how rage-filled it is. Mind-blowing emotions are being poured out by vocalist Brian Garris through his screaming and his lyrics. It gets that primal human anger flowing through you, not for the faint of heart. 41, we have performing Flood by Boris. This is the live rendition of their studio album Flood, and I'm just gonna let the music speak for itself. At number 40, I put Dope Throne by Electric Wizard. The fuzziness, almost shoegaziness of the guitars in this album didn't hook me at first, but once I got acquainted with what the band was going for, it stuck. The almost aquatic mix gives off a pseudo-psychedelic effect that was probably meant for listening while on drugs. My favorite parts of this album are the ending phasing effect of Funeralopolis and the vocal delivery of Black Nebula seething in my brain on We Hate You. Some real nihilistic evil music. We've had 3 really heavy albums back to back, so let's take a break and shift it to In Color by Jamie XX in the number 39 slot. In Color has immaculate production and it's perfectly reserved, with a minimalism that keeps you hooked. I imagine these songs playing at a rave in a glass dome at the bottom of the ocean somewhere. At 38, I put Somewhere City by Origami Angel. It's an ultra-positive, uplifting album, and it's emo. The lyrics are super cute and feel like reassurance from a best friend. Very melodic and happy, and it's one of my go-to albums for mood boosting. Next up at 37, I put down Electric Ladyland by the Jimi Hendrix Experience. My first listen of this was when I was considerably high, which was definitely the intended way to hear it, and I specifically remember the track Burning of the Midnight Lamp blowing my mind so much that I leaned back in my chair and put my hands on my head. This album is just crazy. The guitars have so much soul in them, they sound alive, the drumming is top notch, the often weird mixing is unorthodox but unforgettable. Hendrix's vocals are full of life, just peak music. I listened to this for the first time pretty recently, and I definitely see it rising to ranks in the future. At 36, we have Smile by Corey Robinson. To be completely honest, I actually have gotten pretty sick of this album from over-listening to it, which is entirely my fault. It's nothing against the actual music. But in its prime, Smile was an album I couldn't get enough of. I would just listen to it back to back over and over, and it was my album of the year for 2024. Every song on here is incredible and has super memorable moments, and the Smile Live tour was the greatest experience of my life. I've been to 3 of the shows in that tour, every single one was great, and I cried to 80% of the songs in the first show. For 35, I chose F sharp A sharp Infinity by Godspeed You Black Emperor. This thing is relentless, an atmosphere that will have you shaking and crying. Both versions are incredible, but the expanded version edges its counterpart out with Providence. This album was my first experience being scared by music and being physically affected by it. Taking up the 34th slot is the 4th album in the Aphex Twin discography. Whimsical and technical are probably the 2 best words to describe Richard D. James' album by Mr. Richard D. James. It's silly to the max, but it takes itself seriously enough to give you a true feast for the ears. This is like Collapse EP in the sense that it tickles your brain and stretches the limit of sound, but it's much more palatable and has more direction. And it has that iconic album cover too. I love the soundscape of Fingerbid. Takira, Weakling Child, and 4 are technical marvels. And the chopping of breaks on Girl Boy Song is nothing new to Aphex Twin, but it is really memorable because of its juxtaposition with the gorgeous, pretty, childlike melody in the background. For 33, I placed Worlds by Porter Robinson. Worlds is about, well, worlds. From going from song to song feels like warping to different planets with their own stories to tell. From the lonesome sad machine to the battlefield of years of war. Hear the Bells sounds like a triumph, and Sea of Voices sounds exactly like its title. My best memory with non-live music just so happens to be with Sea of Voices. I was sitting on a large rock overlooking a lake. It was raining, but just barely cold enough for half of the droplets to be snowflakes. The wind was harsh, so I lay down and just took in my cold blue scenery with a transcendental build of the song. When the song reached the climax, I remember grinning ear to ear and being so happy that I couldn't help but laugh to express the joy I was feeling. Everything about that moment in time was perfect. Because of that singular instance, Sea of Voices became one of my favorite songs of all time. The world section of the Smile Tour was and still remains my favorite part of the show. Shout out to the Fresh Static Snow live edit and the Flicker live edit. This album is a landmark in 2010's EDM and a landmark in my music listening journey as well. For 32, I wrote down Loveless by My Bloody Valentine. This album is just walls of beautiful textured noise, music that comes from your dreams even. Puts me in a trance every time I put these songs on. Shut your eyes and let the fuzziness overtake you. For 31, I did the System of a Down album Toxicity. This is just really good metal, like I don't really have any notes on it. It's just good politics and good music. I really like the vocal melodies on the title track and aerials though. Those are my standout moments. My number 30 spot, In Rainbows by Radiohead. In my opinion, Kid A and A Moon-Shaped Pool might be better than In Rainbows. However, In Rainbows is an album that has been with me for the longer time and is more prevalent in my rotation. There's a sort of aquaticness that comes from this album in the production. It sounds very underwater in its own unique way. My favorite song from this album is definitely Jigsaw Falling Into Place. It's kind of similar to the climactic and beautiful Let Down on OK Computer. Also, I don't know if this makes sense, but I think Jeff Buckley, if he was still alive, would have made an amazing cover of that song. At 29, I put Jane Remover's most recent project, Revenge Seekers. On this album, Jane takes a lot of influence from the modern underground rap scene, an area of music that admittedly I'm not a huge fan of, but the way this album was constructed had me swooning on first listen. Take over-the-top digicore production, offbeat flows, put some heavy EDM in there, and even some indie rock, and you have one of the best albums of 2025 yet. I still remember listening to Dancing With Your Eyes Closed when the album was released, and it being one of the most euphoric moments in my music listening journey. Revenge Seekers Live is also fantastic. Placed at 28 is Remain in Light by Talking Heads. It's so funky and groovy, amazing performances from every angle. If you're like who I used to be, someone who didn't like the second half, give it another shot, right now. Because in time, you'll understand its progressively slower direction is actually awesome. Back-to-back Talking Heads with Stop Making Sense at 27. This is a concert, a movie, and an album all in one. When listening to this album, watch the movie for full effect, because David Byrne's cardio is a sight to behold. The building of instruments over the album's length is done really well, and in essence, it's just a legendary band going through their best songs and improving on a lot of them. If you don't find yourself moving around while listening, you might just be unfixable. Number 26 is going to be Oracular Spectacular by MGMT. Dare I say tracks 1 through 5 are one of the greatest runs in modern pop history? Of course, you have the classic trio Time to Pretend, Electric Feel, and Kids, but there's my sleeper pick for the best MGMT song ever, The Youth. Early in this summer, that is 2025, I pulled an all-nighter, and at 4:30 in the morning, I ran as fast to the beach as possible to catch the sunrise in time, with Time to Pretend playing in my earbuds. I think that's how that song was meant to be experienced. It's a recent memory, but I think it's going to stick with me for a long time. Alright, we're at the halfway point. At 25, I have Grace by Jeff Buckley. What Buckley does here is nothing short of monumental. The instrumentation and vocals are so full of passion and heart. The production and instruments, especially the acoustic guitars, are exquisite, and the playing is perfect. The vocal melody on the chorus of Dream Brother is one of my favorite vocal melodies ever. The build and climax of Lover You Should Have Come Over induce goosebumps in me every time. His cover of Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah is one of the best ever, and to me is the definitive version of that song. This album is chock full of climactic and spine-tingling moments. Buckley's vocals are just so full of life on this whole album. If only he didn't die so young. For the next half of this video, I'm going to be yapping more, because this is where we start to get into the I really love these albums territory. I placed Emotion by Carly Rae Jepsen in the 24th slot. This was my most streamed album of 2023 by a mile. I remember being in a Rocket League phase with my friends and just blasting this album all the time. It's perfect pop music. Carly Rae Jepsen is the GOAT of making catchy melodies and the queen of pop. At 23, I have the one, the only To Pimp a Butterfly by Kendrick Lamar. I mean, it's To Pimp a Butterfly. I'm not going to be able to say anything that hasn't already been said a million times. It's a landmark in hip-hop. It's a 10. It's the mustard guy in his most glorious state. At 22, we have Kyusai no Gihu, or Technique of Relief by Susumu Hirasawa. This is music that will have you floating through the starry night sky. This album contains some of the most elegant, maximalist compositions in electronic music history. I literally cannot even fathom how this is music that can be made, even conceived. This is an utterly mind-boggling sonic experience. The only plausible explanation is that Hirasawa is a god among men. You think I'm being dramatic? Listen to this song. Nine plus 10 equals Highway 61 Revisited by Bob Dylan. This has Dylan's best vocal performances and some of the greatest lyrics ever written. Highway 61 Revisited is nothing short of a milestone in music history. The amount of lyrical flexing Dylan does on here is genuinely historic. Let's talk about these tracks. He spits absolute flames on Tombstone Blues, Desolation Row, and Ballad of a Thin Man. There's the triumphant Like a Rolling Stone and Queen Jane approximately. And both It Takes a Lot to Laugh, It Takes a Train to Cry, and Just Like Tom Thumb's Blues are extremely singable, and I imagine would be great karaoke songs. Not to mention the extremely lush instrumentation that is, in my opinion, his best. Just a mind-blowing record from front to back. Now, what could possibly be better than Bob Dylan, you might ask? Think about it for a second. That's right, Drain Gang with Ice Dancer by Blade at 20. I'm one of those Blade listeners who used to not really like his music, and now I love it. Ice Dancer is such a fun mixtape, and the production really stands out among the rest for its wintry, hazy style. I get it if you don't like Blade's vocals, but I think they're great, and his lyrics are actually surprisingly down-to-earth, somber, and relatable. The ringtone-esque melody in Be Nice to Me constantly gets stuck in my head and forces me to listen to the song to get it out. This tape is just banger after banger. I love Jaws, Waster, Side by Side, Inside Out. I could go on and on until I say every track on the album. This thing is just too catchy and addicting. It has to be laced with something. Oh, and by the way, look up the DJ Kelsey remix of Be Nice to Me on SoundCloud, and then thank me later. At number 19, I have Since I Left You by the Avalanches. If you didn't know, this album is a Plunderphonics record, meaning it's constructed entirely out of samples. Yes, entirely. Listening to Since I Left You feels like being transported to a Studio Ghibli-esque world, with creatures and humans working in harmony and singing and dancing to the music. It's a perfect summer album and incredibly innovative. I believe this is the most groundbreaking album with this type of sample usage. Sorry, introducing. At 18, I have What Do You Want by Cloudy Sky. This album screams adventure. It feels like journeying across an unknown yet familiar world. Sky's deep vocals work quite well in these songs. There are amazing indie-tronica bits with Dive and Farewell, and some of my favorite post-rock tracks ever with Curses, Safety, and Thief, especially Thief. This project is way too underappreciated, and so is A Cloudy Sky. Listen to this if you like indie-tronica or post-rock. There needs to be more Cloudy Sky fans out there. At number 17, I placed Jyocho by Aphex Twin. This is him at his peak technical ability. It's a fascinating album, very scatterbrained and all over the place. It goes from beautiful prepared piano bits to haunting ambient and electroacoustic, and then crazy, frantic, jittery drill and bass to keep you on your toes. Those beats are what makes this album so special to me. They're completely unflinching and mind-bending with their genius levels of composition. The seemingly infinite amount of creativity Aphex expresses on this album is stunning. The sounds he pulls out of the prepared piano are incredible, and the arrangements on every track are remarkable. Jyocho, to me, is the electronic equivalent of the nature of complex jazz or classical music, and I honestly think it should be studied, dissected, and analyzed in the same fashion. Come on, you cunt, let's have some Aphex acid! At 16, I placed The Weight of the World by SZA. This album was actually initially way lower on the list, but it climbed really high up because I realized how good of an album it is. What SZA constructed here is insane. Ethereal builds, unorthodox drops, unreal sound design. Every song on here has just a nasty, disgusting drop. And the bright, glimmery synths fit really well with the dark, uncompromising sounds. My favorite track is definitely Heart 123 with Kamo. It is just euphoric. I love the build on I Love You, and it does not go where you expect it to with that drop. Take My Energy makes me feel like I can do anything. Dope 1 literally makes my face crinkle up because of how gross it is. With Weight of the World, SZA proves dubstep isn't just a genre, it's an art. The future is here. Get used to it before you get left behind. Alright, we've hit the top 15. At 15, we have Death Consciousness by Have a Nice Life. The track There Is No Food feels like sitting on a desolate planet, millions of light years away from anything else. A quick one before the eternal worm devours Connecticut feels like drifting off in space with no destination or meaning. I Don't Love is the product of a broken heart, not from romance, but from feeling truly alone in the world. Tracks like Hunter and Who Would Leave Their Son Out in the Sun question who God is and his ultimate motives as a being. And the final track, Earth Mover, is a look into an apocalypse that never ends, an apocalypse so destructive that it makes even its immortal perpetrators want nothing but the sweet relief of death. This album is what you get when you manage to go a level further than giving up. Death Consciousness is the music incarnate of nihilism. Death Consciousness is complete indifference to the world around you. And the worst of it all, Death Consciousness is being completely content with your and other people's suffering and despair. The soundscape of this album is pure nothingness and blackness, similar to death without an afterlife or when you were unborn. Dan Barrett produces pure agony with his voice and stabs through your heart with lyrics that make you question the meaning of existence. I would recommend this album, but depending on the fortitude of your soul, you might never be the same person again after hearing it. At 14, I have Selected Ambient Works Volume 2, the 2024 Expanded Edition by Aphex Twin. I believe this to be the peak of ambient music, and I definitely think this is the definitive version of the album. I have a memory of listening to some of this late at night in a snowy park, and it was both extremely memorable and immersive. 3 is not only the greatest ambient song of all time, but one of the greatest pieces of music ever made, in my opinion. The emotions I feel listening to 3, 21, and 19 are nearly indescribable. This album fills me with dread, hope, and an intense longing for something that I can't quite comprehend. It's a colossal 3-hour-long monument of eerie drones and massive synths, and it's worth every single second. At 13, we have Abbey Road by the Beatles. Debatably the most famous album of all time, Abbey Road is all bark and all bite. The Beatles did not come to play with this album. Here Comes the Sun, Octopus's Garden, Come Together, Oh Darling, nearly every song here is a highlight of the 60s. And then there's the medley that fills the second disc, which in my opinion contains some of the best moments on the album. The transitions, the beginning of She Came Into the Bathroom Window, the horns and guitars doing the You Never Give Me Your Money motif on Carry That Weight, some of the vocals like the constant love you on the end, and the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all good children go to heaven on You Never Give Me Your Money in particular scratch a very specific melodic itch in me. It's Abbey Road. At 12, I put The Black Parade by My Chemical Romance. The Black Parade is a celebration of death. It's filled with drama, but through all its theatrics, it is a defining work of the 2000s. Gerard Way's vocals are incredible, and his lyrics are gut-wrenching. I don't have much to say about it. It's a classic work of emo music and is a must-hear album. Number 11, OK Computer, Radiohead. 10 out of 10. It's almost like this is the OK Computer of music or something. I hear this rhetoric often that this album is a depressing work, but to me, it's actually quite hopeful. These are of course just my interpretations of some of the tracks, but I think Airbag is a celebration of life. Subterranean Homesick Alien is about finding your own beauty in the world around you. Let Down is about bouncing back from despair, and No Surprises is undoubtedly about suicide, but in its final few lines, the character realizes what they would miss if they were dead. And I, for one, choose to believe that they decided against ending their life. An outstanding work, Radiohead's most consistent and best. It's top 10 time. At 10, I put The Fame Monster by Lady Gaga. This album is explicit and even sometimes violent. Gaga's gorgeous vocals complement the sinister undertones of the production fantastically. Bad Romance, Telephone, and Alejandro are 21st century classics. I love the vocal experimentation on Dance in the Dark. Speechless leaves me speechless. And Teeth challenges the normativity of pop with explicit lyrics, a skull-crushing beat, and horns that sound like they came straight from Broadway. If you think it's a skip, I'm here to tell you you're wrong. On The Fame Monster, Gaga expresses her romances through hypersexual hedonistic lyrics. And at the end of the day, this is above all a feminist work that questions the roles men play in women's lives, embraces the camaraderie between women, and explores the self-love and fulfillment of sex. This album is so sick, and I really think it cements Lady Gaga as one of the coolest musicians to have ever lived. Number 9, Fuck You Skrillex, You Think You're Andy Warhol But You're Not by Skrillex. Released on April Fools of this year, but no joke. I think this might be the most fun album I've ever heard. It's not doing anything necessarily revolutionary, however, it's EDM at its finest and most honed. Some of the best, most clean production in the genre's history. Skrillex and everyone involved are at their peak performance on this album. Formatted like a DJ set with 34 tracks and usage from genres all across the spectrum of electronic dance music. It features tens of artists, including the likes of Dylan Brady of 100 Gex, Virtual Riot, White Armor of Drain Gang, Varg 2, Boys Noise, etc. Notably, DJ Smokey, who acts as a narrator through the album, throws out tags and funny clips to elevate the silliness of it. Every vocal feature and melody is catchy and memorable. The drops in sound design on these songs are insane and never get boring, even after consistent listening over 4 months since the album has been out. I might even make a separate video going track by track and unpacking my thoughts on each of them, because there's just so much to say. This album is truly a beautiful thing, and it pays a wonderful tribute to electronic music and shows the power of collaboration in EDM.
We nuke the club, baby.
Number 8, 98-12-28, Otoko Tachi no Wakare by Fishmans. Oh, the magnificent live performance and album by Japanese legends Fishmans. This was a live performance where the band would play a selection of 14 songs to honor their bassist Yuzuru Kashiwabara, who was going to leave the band after this last concert. Little did the band know, the world would soon lose the frontman Shinji Sato only a few months later due to an unforeseen heart attack, and that this would be their final production. Fishmans takes a large influence from reggae and dub, and combines that with their aquatic psychedelic style to make a unique blend of genres that I've not heard replicated. The guitar playing is full of life and heart, especially on tracks like Walking in the Rhythm and Hikoki. Sato's vocals ooze character and passion, and this performance includes some of my favorite bass lines in history. And then there's the second disc, which includes the songs In the Air, Baby, and one of my 2 picks for the greatest song of all time, Long Season. In the Air feels like flying, Baby is more of that classic Fishman's dub sound, and Long Season is a titanic 42-minute long odyssey that takes you through 3 main phases. If you can get past this length, it's actually a very easy song to listen to. I even put my dad onto it. I don't really want to spoil anything about it though. This album is a 2-hour masterpiece. If I had a time machine, the first thing I would do is watch this concert live. Rest in peace, Shinji Sato and Honzi. Next at number 7, I have I Didn't Mean to Haunt You by Quadeca. I Didn't Mean to Haunt You is a concept album about a ghost confronting what it means to be dead. Naturally, if I were given one word to describe this project, it would be ghastly. These songs sound like they were taken from the spirit realm. The production manages to sound both lush and yet thin and frail at the same time. Quadeca's vocals sound tired and desperate, aching for human connection. The second half of the intro track, Sorry for Dying, feels like your life flashing before your eyes. Born Yesterday is a journey through grief in 6 minutes. On the song House Settling, which has Danny Brown rapping from the perspective of carbon monoxide, Quadeca proposes a fascinating and terrifying idea about loneliness in the afterlife. Fantasy World is what I believe to be the magnum opus of the album and maybe of Quadeca's career so far. Fractions of Infinity's second half might be my favorite part of the whole project, and Cassini's Division is one of the few songs that made me cry on first listen. This album is a meal best served late at night and in the dark. Haunt You paints a pessimistic picture of death, but remains staunchly beautiful. At number 6, Discovery by Daft Punk. When humans colonize planets and space travel is just as common as an airplane trip, this is what's going to be playing in the space parties and raves. This album is futuristic and is a joy to listen to. Daft Punk's mastery of sampling and melody is on full display on Discovery. One More Time is a classic for a reason. The guitars on Aerodynamic never fail to get me hype. Digital Love is euphoric. The fun-filled earworms that are crescendos in High Life. The spaciness of superheroes, the relaxed something about us in Veridis Quo. This album is hit after hit after hit after hit. This is a must listen before you die. Cracking the top 5 is Baby Mint Loading Fun by Baby Mint. Formed out of a reality TV show, Baby Mint is a Taiwanese girl group that you sadly probably have never heard of. With production credits from the enigmatic AF, these girls created my album of the year of 2023 and one of the most exciting pop albums of the 21st century. I think this is pretty palatable, but the experimentation put on display from the production is nothing short of groundbreaking. This album merges so many genres and styles that it will make your head spin. From the Jersey Club banger Nobody Loves You, going straight into the pop masterpiece that is Hello Kitty Balakuri, which is a 3-minute 47-second long song and throughout its run uses bit pop, deconstructed club, future bass, a rap verse, math rock guitars, drum and bass, and even metal screams. There's the heavenly No Way, which shows off the vocal skills of the band, and the frantic multifaceted baby meme Odyssey. My words simply cannot do this album justice. If there's one project that I could make you listen to on this list, it would be this one. This album is that good and needs more attention.
Gonna let you know we keep it robot to my crazy fault to good happen so gotta say hello kitty balagani go bam 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 hey 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 made in dodge eating shoes about to dead drunk flash you with that hey hey y'all the hush book it done like the pick it on the wrong side you're gonna realize I make you feel my bad side 记得每天醒来都精彩 say hi hello kitty I'm a lesson I want to be mine till I die.
These last 4 on the list are my most prized albums. These are my holy grails. At number 4, we have Lift Your Skinny Fists Like Antennas to Heaven by Godspeed You, Black Emperor. Listening to this album is the closest you can get to reaching heaven and touching God without actually dying. All of the different instruments used here aren't just tools to create sound, they're like extensions of the band members, as if they were another limb. The composition of every passage is gorgeous and mystical, and the elusive themes of the album are largely up to the listener's interpretation, as there are no lyrics per se. Spoken word dialogue is often used, but there's no singing of words. There are no vocals in that sense. I could go into each song individually, but instead, for this video, I'm just gonna look at the third track, Sleep. Sleep is my other pick, besides Long Season, for the greatest song of all time. It's a 22-minute spiritual journey that starts out calming, becomes haunting, and then ends with the most triumphant climax I've ever heard. I would love to go into more detail and depth about this album, but I think I'd rather save it for a different video. Skinny Fists is certainly a demanding listen, but it's worth every second of your attention. It's simply the greatest post-rock has to offer, bestowed upon us by the gods of the genre and maybe even heaven itself. Next up, number 3, Mezzanine by Massive Attack. This album is immaculately produced, and it sounds like it was mixed and mastered by Jesus Christ himself. One of the finest sonic landscapes ever made. There are songs on here that bang and explode. There are chilled out reserve tunes, but every single track on this album has a mind-bending soundscape. Each song feels like you're trapped in a dank, musty auditorial maze. It's villainous, it's wretched, it's repulsive, and I adore every single second of it. To paint a picture for you, this album is like a dystopian city 1,000 years in the cyberpunk future, where most of the population lives in alleys, getting by with hard drugs and surviving off of synthetic foods. Just lie back, relax, maybe take a hit of heroin, and fall into the bleak world of Mezzanine. Number 2. Sorry, I just had to make sure you were awake. Number 2, I'm Wide Awake It's Morning by Bright Eyes. I truly believe in my heart of hearts that I'm Wide Awake It's Morning is a pillar in the history of art and human creation. It's an album about the human experience and what it means to live in a universe where you are insignificant. It is art in its most primal form. It questions humanity and the meaning of existence in the current state of the world. Conor Oberst's vocals ooze heartbreak. His lyrics are some of the most thought-provoking words I've ever heard. Even the instruments sound like they're on the verge of mental break. The guitars on Lua and Poison Oak sound like they're about to cry. This album speaks on the vices of living: drugs, alcohol, depression, even suicide. This is a deeply personal record, and it's impossible to describe how special it is to me. I think I'll write a full review because I have so much to say about this album. If you struggle with addiction, mental health, grief, or even just discontent with the world around you, sit down and listen to this album. It won't answer your questions, but it will be your best friend in times of need. And finally, at number 1, Nurture by Porter Robinson. I'm Wide Awake It's Morning might be my pick for the greatest album of all time, but Nurture is my favorite. Every little note and detail is perfection, and it really is a special piece of media for me. Porter has mastered the art of invoking two contradicting emotions at the same time. Much of his music shows both happiness and sadness, and some of it holds depression and hope. Hope is Nurture's most powerful emotion. Look at the sky, musician, mirror, something comforting, and trying to feel alive. All of that theme of hungering for more, to be your best self. Every song on here is indescribably important to me. I have more words than I can even verbalize. Nurture is grounded in reality, but it's also all about dreaming. Nurture sounds like a glitchy digital Garden of Eden with flickering holographic trees and simulated butterflies and birds. Nurture is like a second home to me. I can always use it as an escape from the storm of the real world. Thank you, Porter Robinson, for making me smile, and thank you for watching this video.